Alright, so we'll be starting off with module number 9, which is Testng. Okay, so this is actually used to implement the test cases. Okay, right. So for example, as I was telling you, right, for example, you have got test cases. You have made your scripts. Till now we have just learned how to make scripts in Selenium WebDriver. Okay, so suppose this is your script 1, right, and after that you have got script 2, script 3, like that. This is your script 2, this is your script 3. Okay, so you have got various scripts out here. Okay, right, fine. So out here you have to generate some reports. That's what you need to do. You need to generate reports. You need to read the data from the Excel file. You have to generate some logs. What do you mean by logs? You need to know what happened at each and every moment when script was running. Okay, right. So how do you do this? Okay, how do you implement such a scenario wherein you generate reports, you read the data, you generate logs, along with that you generate some screenshots? You need to have some controlling manager in between who can do that. Selenium is only this part. This is Selenium. Selenium has got no internal feature which will generate reports, read the data, generate logs and all. Okay, right. So what you do is that you have a central controlling manager, which is generally we call it Testng framework we use. Sometimes people also use JUnit. Testng is better than JUnit. That's what my personal opinion is. People also use Cucumber, BDD or Fitness. Right, there are lots of tools available. You can use any of the tools. Okay, I prefer using Testng. Alright, so what these tools do, they read the data. Okay, they read the data from, hold on, they read the data from the Excel file. They call the scripts in a particular order. They generate the HTML reports, generate logs, store the screenshots. So this is the heart of the system. Okay, right. So you got my point, right? Fine. So now we are going to study Testng. To first study Testng, the first thing which you need to do is that you need to install Testng. Testng is installed as an add-on inside Eclipse. Right. You have to go to just go to Google and type Testng download. Right. Go here. Go to Google and search for Testng download. Hold on, it's taking a little while. Fine, and you can go to the first link, this testng.org download. Okay, so out here, you have to go to Eclipse. You have this link, Eclipse, you go to this link, right? Installation, you click on this link, install the plugin, and yeah, for Eclipse, yeah, okay, this was the link. Fine. Anyways, for Eclipse 3.4, this is the link. So you need to use this link, copy this link, right? Go to your Eclipse, alright, go to help, install new software, and paste this link and hit the enter button. As soon as you hit the enter button, you'll get Testng over here. right? You select that, okay, and right, I hope you are able to see it clearly now. Fine, there was some delay, right? So over here in Testng, what you need to do, you need to select Testng, click on next, 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 and install it. Right, in between you might get some error, ignore that error, and in the end Eclipse will restart. Right, once Eclipse restarts, what you need to do is that you need to hold on, please start from down. Okay, you want to actually see the downloading again. It's simple, you need to go to this, you just need to copy this link sorry, right, and go to help install new software and paste the link, okay, and out here you simply select Testng and install it. Right, once you install it, you can go to Window, Show View, okay, and go to Other, and you should have test under Java, you should have Testng, okay, right. So you can confirm your installation this way. Fine, so now let me create a new project, new Java project known as Testng sample. Alright, fine, and inside it I will be adding the various jar files of Selenium. Fine, right, and inside the source folder I'll create a new class known as a simple class, a very simple test case, simply Gmail. Alright, fine, so out here, right, inside the Gmail, right, we can have @test function, public void launch Gmail. Okay, now what is @test? @test is a annotation. Fine, okay, @test is an annotation. Okay, this annotation denotes that this is a test case. Alright, you move your mouse over this and you can simply add this as a Testng library. You will get this option. After installing Testng, you will get the option that add the Testng library to the project. Once you click on it, you see that Testng is added as a library, and this is testng.jar file. Okay, then you move your mouse over this and import the test annotation, org.testng.annotation. Alright, fine. Now once you have done that, okay, you can write the code. You can write the code to launch Gmail and do something, right? But in between you have to do some validations as well, suppose. Okay, right, like validations like say you have to verify the title. Okay, I write over here WebDriver driver equals to new Firefox driver. Okay, fine. Then I write driver.get, right, you go to a certain URL. Fine, that URL would be the Gmail URL, which is http gmail.com, right. Then you write over here driver.get or get title. This will give you the title of the page. Okay, right. Now suppose you have the, if you actually go to the Gmail page, you should be knowing the expected title of this page, right? I can get the expected title from the page source. This is the title, right? So I will have the expected title. Generally we will keep the expected values in the Excel file or something, right? But anyways, I'm keeping it over here, expected title, and this is the actual title. Now I want to compare the expected and actual title and report an error in case both of them are not equal. Okay, for that we use assertions in Testng. Okay, you have functions like assert dot assert equals, right? Don't import it from JUnit framework, import it from the Testng framework. Okay, assert is a class and assert equals is a function. Okay, is a function I mailed you the link, Deepti. Can someone give the link in out here? Right. Assert equals is a function which asserts actual and expected values. Right. So you will give actual title here and expected title here. Okay. In case both the titles are not equal. Right. Okay, in case both the titles are not equal, you will get an error. Okay, you will get an error in the reports. Alright, let me run this. Let me keep the expected title. Generally I'll keep it wrongly, and when I run this, hold on. So see, it's reached the page, right? And if you scroll down, you'll see the console that total test cases run were 1. This was the test case with the test annotation, right? Okay, and the failures are 1. This test case failed because the actual and the expected title did not match. Okay, and you will be able to see this. Expected is Gmail this, but found is this Gmail. Okay, right. So this is what assertions they do. They compare the actual and the expected. If I keep it normally, right, this test case will pass. If you run this, see that the page had opened, but it was minimized. But if you look at the console, total test runs are 1, failures are 0, skips are 0. These are the results. Okay, right, fine. Along with that, if you refresh this, okay, if you look at the test output, fine, you will have index.html. If you go to that index.html, if you open this, this will be the HTML report. It's generated by default in Testng. Okay, right, fine. In past methods it will show that Gmail has passed, launched Gmail has passed, right. Similarly, you have got another type of assertions, right? Say assert dot assert true, in which you give a condition and give a message, right? Say I give a condition like 3 greater than 4, and the message I'll give as error message. Hold on, I'll explain you what this assertion is, right? Let me comment the complete code out here. Right, now there is a condition over here. This condition should evaluate to true or false. Okay, in case if it evaluates to false, then this assertion will fail, and this error message will be thrown. Whatever error message which you are doing whatever this can be your custom error message. Whatever you write over here will be thrown. For example, if I run this will fail the test. Okay, this will fail it because 3 greater than 4 is false. You are asserting true over here. If this condition evaluates to false, then an error message will come up. Now where do we use this practically? Remember we talked about the function is element present. So you can give some condition if is element present over here. If the element is not present on the page, if it returns you false, then you can throw a custom error message that element was not found on the page. Alright, so this is the main motive of Testng. Whatever I have taught you till now shows the main motive, that is you make a test case, you put some validations inside it and generate basic reports. Okay, right. Now for example, you have got test cases, you have got tests out here. Yes, I am recording. Okay, I am recording in this. Right, suppose you have got a test case, say launch Gmail. Right, after launching Gmail, you can have multiple test cases in a single file, like public void say login Gmail. Okay, then again a test case like write mail. Alright, then a test case like logout Gmail. Fine. Okay, so you have got test cases like launch Gmail, login Gmail, write Gmail, logout Gmail. Okay, in every test case you can write some code which can test few things, right? Obviously, as the order goes, I am expecting the tests to be carried out in the order I have written them. First this should run, then this should run, then this should run, then this. Out here I'll just write system.out.println launch Gmail. Out here login Gmail. Out here write mail. Out here logout Gmail. When you run this code, it prints launch Gmail, login Gmail, logout Gmail, write mail. The order is not the same which you had actually predicted over there, which you had written over there. Yes, @test is an annotation which separates each and every test case. And the order is not the same which we have written. Don't think that the order would remain the same. It will execute from top to bottom. No. If you look at the console, it's not. Launch Gmail first, then login, then logout, and then write mail. The order is not the same. You cannot predict the order like this. So basically you have to mention Testng that the tests are dependent on each other. There has to be certain priority in which these test cases have to be executed. Right. So you can mention the priority over here like this, that this test has got the priority 1. This test has priority 2. This test case has priority 3. Priority 4. When you run this, now see launch, login, write and logout. It executed this way. Okay. Right, you got my point, right? So this is a very simple and a very straightforward way of implementing the tests using Testng. It generates reports for you as well, and it does everything. Fine. Now at times what happens is that, say launch Gmail fails, I write over here assert dot. If you directly want to fail the test case, you can simply write assert.fail, failing because of some reason. Right. Okay. Right. So when you run this, you will see that launch Gmail fails, but login, write and logout they pass. But the point is, when you are not even able to launch it, how will you log in, how will you write an email, and how will you log out? You're getting my point. The other test cases, although they are the priority set, but the dependency is not set. The test cases need to be dependent on each other as well. Okay, you need to have the tests dependent on each other, right? So for that we have another parameter known as depends on methods. You give the method names on which the test case is dependent. It is dependent on launch Gmail. This one is dependent on login Gmail. This one is dependent on, say, every function is dependent on login launch Gmail, and write mail function is dependent on launch Gmail as well as login Gmail. So you can put a comma and put it out here like this, that this function is dependent on launch Gmail as well as login Gmail, and similarly this one as well. That's what I'm doing right now, Mahesh. That this function is dependent on two functions, this function is dependent on two, this is dependent on only one. So when you run this, if you look at the reports, now these three are yellow. Yellow means they have been skipped. So a test case can have three outputs in Testng. It can fail, it can pass, or it can skip. So it was dependent on the other test cases, so it simply skipped. Alright, fine. So hold on, I'll make myself invisible. A lot of people are pinging me. Alright, hope you got my point. Okay, right. So now moving ahead, just a minute, I'll keep it back. And a test, we saw that the test cases can be dependent on each other as well, right? Now there are few things, like I'll make another class over here known as parameterization. What do you mean by parameterization? Running one test case multiple times, okay, right, multiple times running one test case with multiple sets of data. Right, fine. For example, you have the test case @test public void do login, right? This is a login test. You can run it once with single set of data, but what if I want to run the test case with multiple sets of data? Okay, for this we use a data provider. Okay, we use a data provider which works like this, that is, you have to write @data provider public object, you can give it any name, get data. This data provider, what it does is that it supplies the data to the test case, right? What it's having is, it's having a two-dimensional object array like this with certain number of rows and certain number of columns. Okay, right. So it's got rows and it's got columns. Okay, right. So it's like this, and the data is arranged in this grid. Alright, if I want to run the test with, for example, if I want to run the login test 5 times, then I will have 5 rows. Each row denotes the number of times you want to run the test. And in one test, if I have got 4 parameters, suppose in login test I have got a parameter, say username, password, the browser on which you want to run, okay, and some other parameters, say the URL on which you want to log in, right? Say I've got 4 parameters. Number of columns should be equal to number of parameters, right? I'll tell you how we do it. We make this 2-dimensional object array first with some rows. I'll say rows are 3, columns are 2. The first parameter is rows, that's a matrix. Second parameter is actually the column, number of columns. You fill this out, you fill the first row, right? That is data 0 0 is, say, username 1. Data 0 1, first row, okay, is password 1, P1. Similarly, you have this second row, and third row, okay, U2 P2, U3 P3. So you have this data arranged in a 2-dimensional array. Okay, right, and you return this data back. Okay, in the test you can mention that the data provider for this test case is get data. Okay, so automatically it will understand the data will come from here, and number of input parameters in this test function should be equal to number of columns you have. You have 2 columns, right? So you'll have 2 input parameters, username and password. That's it. When you run this, automatically Testng will run it 3 times with different sets of data. You don't have to do any other settings. That's it. Mention a data provider, build a 2-dimensional array, fill the data inside it. Later on we'll get the data from the Excel file and fill it inside it. Okay, and you call the login function. Okay, and in the login function you actually mention the data provider name as get data. All right, and I'll print it out here as well. Username as well as password. So when you run this in the console, you'll see that various usernames and passwords have been printed. It's executing multiple times. So one important thing which you need to understand is number of input parameters should be equal to number of columns. If you're not having equal, it will give you an error. If I keep this like this, only username I write, and if I run this, I'll get an instant error. That data provider is trying to pass 2 parameters, but test accepts only 1. You can write anything. You can write anything.